been keeping an eye on Worthing Pier in the last few minutes. Squadron leader Gary Bremner, and they have a flight engineer on board, master air crewman Bob Carter. Now I'm going to be quiet because these four Merlins are magic. Developed from the Avro Manchester, which was a twin-engine bomber. Not a great success. Extended, designed by Roy Chadwick, of course, who in fact designed the Avro Vulcan. That was his last project before he died. This became the Avro Lancaster, the mainstay of the RAF's bomber fleet in World War II. Note the size of the bomb bay. The bomb bay doors were open. It could carry, you remember, things like the Grand Slam and the Tall Boy. Massive bombs. It was of course specially modified for the Dams raid when it carried the Barnes-Wallis bouncing bomb. It was beautiful to fly. My father said that you could put the aircraft into a turn, trim the aeroplane in a turn, in a gentle turn, and there was an on-board loo. There was a little Elsan loo halfway down the fuselage. You had to climb over the spar, as I remember it, to get to it. But it was possible to put the aircraft into a gentle turn. There was only one pilot on board, and if you wanted to go back to the loo, you could actually go back there, come forward, and the aeroplane was still going around the same beautifully coordinated turn. It was that stable. Now we have the wheels down, the flaps down. You've probably heard the engines going to fine pitch. You change the pitch of the propellers so that if you need power in a hurry, they respond quickly. There's a higher pitch note, and slightly out of sync because they're on their own now, they're not synchronized. in South Africa, where they're available for relatively cheap hire. It handles like a dream once you're in the air. Not quite so easy on the ground, particularly in a crosswind, particularly if you bounce it. Tendency to ground loop and tear one of the undercarriage legs off, and that was always the sort of thing you didn't want to do in front of anybody else. Very big aeroplane. You don't sit in it, you sit on it. It's rather like sitting on a barrel. The controls are almost out of reach for someone like myself, who's an average sized person, which means it must have been designed around big Americans. But it is a joy to fly because the controls are not only beautifully harmonized, 8 or 9 point hesitation roll with relative ease and a maneuver like a loop, which is very graceful, can be done with great precision. Our Harvard pilot today is Richard Dauncey. Richard is actually an Airbus skipper with BA, so good man, and I think he thoroughly enjoys getting the wind out of his hair in the Harvard. He's lining up now, but I ought to point out that this aircraft is owned locally by the Real Flying Company, and we do encourage you to come and fly in it. It's only by people like yourselves flying in it. You don't have to have any previous experience, you can just go and fly in it for fun. That's what keeps these lovely old aeroplanes flying. So Richard taking off now in the T6 Harvard. Another local pilot, Justin, taxiing out in his extra 300 to do a solo display. And then after that, we have Christian Moulec avec les oiseaux, with his birds, with his French birds. Do wait and see that, it's well worth seeing. The white van, the little white van that we can see now, has probably, I hope, got a number of geese in it.
All right.
Christian will take off in these perfect conditions for him.
Any minute now, he's going to let the geese off. Okay.
And you will see the geese formate on him, just like the red arrows.
Yeah. Right.
And if you're close enough to him, he flies quite close to the crowd because it's very safe. This is not some high-speed, noisy jet. This is a very safe aeroplane. Because he flies slowly and has very low mass, because it's not very heavy, he's allowed to fly quite close to the crowd. So watch out for anything dropping off the birds as he comes by, and you will actually see him gesticulating with his arms whilst flying with the aeroplane with the controls at his knees. You'll see him gesticulating and shouting things in French, and the birds respond. When Christian has been here in the past, for many people this has been the highlight of the show. And we like to either start the show with Christian or complete it, finish it. So this is the last scheduled item. So keep your eyes on the men there with the white van. Quite often we're asked, does he fly it across the English Channel with the birds? No, they bring it over. They bring the whole thing. They can fold the flexi-wing microlight, they can fold it up, and of course the birds come over on the ferry. Which is a pity, because it'd be an even better story if they did fly over. Last time I met Christian, a few years ago now, he didn't seem to speak any English either. I don't think his English is that word perfect. But we did have a small discussion in French, which used up my own vocabulary in about 2 sentences. And I think we can see a rather large black thing being dragged towards the aeroplane. I'm hopeful that has birds in it. An official looking vehicle is going out to keep an eye on things and make sure they don't get away. And Christian will be here for a week, and he'll be flying from Hickstead with competition winners or people who have arranged to fly with him and the birds. There's a second seat in his aeroplane, and you can fly with Christian. They're very, very safe, these flexi-wing microlights. They're a joy to fly. Very, very safe indeed. And you can actually experience the flying with the birds yourself. Christian is having to charge for this, of course, but I would add that he is making a significant contribution to the Royal Air Force Association. But he's primarily doing it because he wants to publicise his conservation efforts. And I think we should salute this wonderful man. There's the birds, all just getting airborne, as is our dear man Christian. See the birds? He's taking off into wind. He'll come round shortly with the birds in formation.
Yeah.
No, that's sweet. Sort of wigging a fair. Oh dear.
There's some more. Look there,
So these birds.
Oh, I really want to read your book. There's a misty little flame. Let's go look in here. It's beautiful. That was a pretty airshow. I really enjoyed it. I got sunburned. Wow, that was excellent. Not to home now. The 1852. We did that kind of that 7:15, I think. 50 times I did it. We did. So on a 313. On a 313, as you can see. That was fun.
He's tired now.
Well, we have to get to time 3. But we woke up and we decided to stay up. And Dad, did he set the clock? Oh my goodness. See you later. Off we go.
It's a moisty.
Next station is Buckner Regis. British train terminals. Change. I thought the seaside or home. Or to the park.